All right, take two. Hi, I'm Brad Bertelli, Curator for the Keys History and Discovery Center. Welcome back to another edition of Discover History. We are here on the fills between Upper Matecumbe and Lower Matecumbe Keys. We're going to talk about this little island behind me, which is my favorite island in all of the Keys, named Indian Key. If you have any questions while we're talking here live, Aaron is behind the phone and he'll be happy to relay those questions to me. Otherwise, I will be happy to answer any questions you have once I get back to my computer at my desk. Now, literally millions of people have driven along the overseas highway and driven past this nondescript island without any idea of what a hidden gem, what a historical nugget this is. Once upon a time, Indian Key, this 11-acre island behind me, was the most important island in all of the Florida Keys that was not named Key West. As you're driving past, it looks just like another mangrove island, but back in the 1830s, this was the site of a thriving community with its own restaurant and saloon and billiards room and hotel, and there were wharves, there were buildings, there were actually more than one hotel out there. There was a boarding house as well as a hotel, and this island really is one of the hidden gems of the Florida Keys. It was designated a historic state park in 1971, so today it's Indian Key Historic State Park. The only way to access the island is by boat or by kayak, and currently the boat dock was damaged in Irma back in 2017, and hopefully it'll be repaired soon. Otherwise, you can take a boat out there and anchor and kind of wade in, and you can walk along the old system of roads, which are really no more than pathways, and visit some of the ruins. This is the only ghost town we have here in the Florida Keys, and it really is like stepping back in time when you walk past the ruins of the warehouse, which was a massive 3-story building. When you walk past some of the cistern ruins, again, there was no fresh water on the island, so you had to have cisterns in order to collect fresh water. Now, the Bahamian sailors used to call the island Cape Comfort. And there were 4 reasons why the island was called Cape Comfort, and we'll talk a little bit about those because it really really kind of ties back to where we're standing today on these railroad fills that were built during the construction of Henry Flagler's Oversea Railroad. Now, for the first reason it was called Cape Comfort is the island is located about midway along the Florida Reef. So if you think about the reef, the coral reef's really starting to grow around the Fort Lauderdale area, and then coming to an end in the Dry Tortugas, some 70 miles southwest of Key West. We're about the midway point. Also, the island historically had a fairly deep natural harbor. Also, there was a freshwater source located just down the highway in what is today known as Robbie's Marina, but kind of there in the parking lot, there were 5 freshwater wells that were considered to be some of the most reliable, some of the best freshwater sources in all of the Florida Keys. And then the last reason why the island was called Cape Comfort, and probably the most important reason, at least if you're out there on the island, we're out there on the island, is that it's historically been known for being relatively mosquito-free. Having no fresh water on the island, there's no place for mosquitoes to breed, and also it's about a mile offshore, so with the Atlantic breezes coming in, mosquitoes have a hard time flying out there. And there are some mosquitoes out there, but not the big electric hordes that would come across the islands. By comparison, behind it, we're on the ocean side. Behind us on the bay side is another state park, Lignum Vitae Key. Now that state park, the rangers, in summertime have to wear bee suits because the mosquitoes are still so thick back there. Now, 3 of the 4 reasons why the island was called Cape Comfort, 2 of them still remain. It's still located about midway along the Florida Reef. There are still relatively no mosquitoes out there, but the fresh water has dried up. The freshwater wells that were formerly on Lower Matecumbe Key in the parking lot of Robbie's Marina, those are no longer accessible. And also the deep harbor, the once naturally deep harbor, is no longer there as well. And part of the reason that harbor disappeared is because of the fills on which we are standing. Now, prior to Henry Flagler building his railroad from the mainland down to Key West, where we're standing was an open expanse of water. So there was a free exchange of water between the Atlantic Ocean and Florida Bay. Now, instead of building bridges like he did like Henry Flagler did between Key Vaca and Marathon and Ohio Key or Bahia Honda down in the Middle and Lower Keys, they used railroad fill. And what we're standing on is railroad fill, where they would dredge the water, bring up the rock and the marl and dump it down, and then create this land where there was no land before. Now today, when you drive from Lower Matecumbe to Upper Matecumbe, you do travel over five different bridges in addition to this railroad fill. But back in Flagler's day, this was, or before 1935 Labor Day hurricane, this was a complete line of fill that really acted as a dam between Upper Matecumbe and Lower Matecumbe. So that free exchange of water was no longer viable. And instead, the water would kind of come in and then eddy around a bit, and then the silt, instead of being able to flow, the silt would kind of gradually grow. Now, what happened in 1935 really altered the underwater topography surrounding the island. Now, the railroad fill was also where the overseas highway was. Back before 1935, it was possible to drive your car from Miami to Key West, but at Lower Matecumbe Key, the next island down from where we're standing, you would have to board a automobile ferry and take a 4-hour ferry ride to No Name Key, at which point, which is kind of by Big Pine Key, at which point you would depart the automobile ferry and continue your way down to Key West. Now, between the railroad tracks and the old overseas highway, the old road, there was just a lot of fill, and it was built up. And then in 1935, on September 2nd, that Category 5 devastating Labor Day hurricane came across. And what it did is it blew a lot of the fill out back into the water. So now when you paddle a kayak, for instance, from here or from Robbie's Marina, you paddle out to the state park, you'll go over these seagrass beds that at low tide sometimes the grass is showing, but very, very shallow. And on the, east, west, on the southeastern side of the island where the harbor kind of was on this side, that's where the kind of the business center of Indian Key was, where the harbor was. Even there, it's full of silt, and where once upon a time it was 8 or 10 feet deep down there in that area, now it's just a couple of feet deep. Great place to go snorkeling though. If you're looking for as a sidelight, Indian Key is a great place to look at some history, to really step back in time and kind of walk around these deserted streets and past the ruins. But if you visit out there, pack a lunch, pack something cold to drink, and then take your fins and your mask and your dive flag, and you can snorkel around the far side of the island and really see a hard-bottom coral community that's really interesting. And sometimes you'll see some great corals, some great reef fish, sometimes an eel or a shark, maybe, or some conch or something. But really a great place to go snorkeling as well. In the meantime, it really is a fantastic island to go visit. It's one of the hidden gems of the Florida Keys. If you want to come visit the island, we were fortunate enough to work with the Florida Humanities Council and create a walking tour of the island. It's a free download for your phone or your computer that you can. It's floridaflstories.org. It's walking stories. It's called Florida Stories. And you can visit our website for the download, or flstories.org or keysdiscovery.com, and you can also download the walking tour there. But the walking tour allows you to visit 12 of the really historic sites on the island, and it gives you some narrative, it gives you some pictures, but it also incorporates what we've done at the Keys History Discovery Center is create a model of Indian Key, how it would have looked back in the 1830s when it was a thriving community of up to 140 people with houses and the hotels and the wharfs and all the buildings and the town square. Really a fascinating island. It's a wonderful place to visit. If you're in the Keys and want to kind of to experience a little bit of old history, a little bit of how it used to be, and kind of escape, the traffic and the congestion of what has become the Florida Keys in a lot of ways, and step back in time and really explore something that was so important back in the early history of the Keys that people really take for granted. People don't really understand what a amazing island it is. As you drive by, it looks like just another mangrove island, but it really is an amazing place to visit. If you visit the island, please visit the Keys History and Discovery Center, and you can kind of compare and contrast what it looks like today as the Florida Keys' only ghost town, and then come back and see this wonderful model. There's nothing like it in the world. We're really fortunate to be able to include this into our exhibits. And hello, fans or people loving what we're doing out here. They're honking their horns. So please visit the island, visit the Keys History and Discovery Center. If you have questions, please ask them. It's my favorite topic. I can talk about it for hours. So I hope you guys enjoy this little episode. And it's kind of interesting. I know I talk about this island a lot and people talk about Indian Key, but to actually kind of see it looks like nothing. But once you get beyond that first row of trees, the whole island opens up into roads and the town square and these ruins. And it really is just really a cool step back in time, and really is kind of one of those hidden gems and a really lovely thing that the Florida Keys have that most people just kind of drive by and don't even know what's happening out there. But it's worth the trip. If you're into history, it is one of the most important, one of the most amazing pieces of Florida Keys history we have in the island chain. So if you guys, hope you have a great week. And we'll see you next Tuesday here or somewhere else along the Florida Keys, where we'll continue talking and we'll continue discovering great Florida Keys history. So you guys have a great afternoon, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.